Hello and welcome back to another episode of Rebooking to Mastery, presented by me, Jugget. For all you new listeners, I'm just a 22-year-old master's student just trying to spread some knowledge out to the rest of the world. And I do that through analyzing books based in different ideologies such as Stoicism, strategies of war, or even spirituality. So the current book that I'm looking at or analyzing and finding out points for is Stillness is the Key. And so Stillness is the Key is a book by Ryan Holiday that goes into Stoicism, which leads a little bit into Stoicism, but talks a lot about staying still, being present, and just being there, as opposed to thinking so much into the past and the future. So in this part, I'm going to talk more about becoming present. So we think that we like to assume rather that the hardest thing to do is constantly be doing something, to constantly push ourselves to the next level, to constantly be working and constantly be grinding or rather working hard. But rather, it's not that is the hard thing to do. It is rather doing something close to nothing. We have spent so much time spending in this kind of sphere where we think that working and working and working and working is the way to go. And that just leads completely to burnout. And we, to be honest, try really, really hard to get out of the present moment that we're currently living in by doing whatever we can. We try to look in the past and reflect and see if there's anything in the past that we could look at and see if we can analyze that or like define ourselves by that. And we look for the future. We look in the future, some far happiness that'll manifest itself somewhere or the other. But is it not true that the only moment we have control over is the current one? The past has happened already. Going back is not something that is possible. We can imagine ourselves going back in imaginary arguments or in whichever way of manifestation. But there is really, really no going back to the past. And in the future, there's no greatness, really, particularly. It's not like if you cannot accept the moment right now, how can you accept the moment that'll happen later? Who is really, really so certain that they'll really get another moment in life, then they'll get another chance, they'll have the next day, that they can confidently skip this one? Memento Mori is a primary emblem of Stoicism. It's the idea that one day I will die. And so if you're present and you enjoy every single moment and you are in presence, it is impossible for you not to appreciate, enjoy, and see the world around you. This doesn't mean that you should block out all misery, block out all emotion, just feel happiness. But like an artist exploring the world with fully engaged presence, you're going to be far more inclined towards those positive emotions. And if you put everything into appreciating the abundance of the now, not the mistakes of the past or the uncertainties of the future, but rather the plenitude of the now, your mental state, you will find, will rise up significantly. And this leads to the idea of focusing on what's on your plate right now. So we like to project 2, 3, 4 years in the future, and somehow or the other, this projection ends up with us on top, with us doing something so magnanimous, something so great, something so awesome as the end goal. But in order to get there, we have to put the work in right now. But something we like to do a lot is project into the future. Be like, oh, far into this time, I will find myself becoming the best at this, being the best at this, finding myself on the top of this. But rather, if we were to just be present and focus on what our plate has right now, not only would we gain the time, that our ego projects into the future, but we would also have a more grounded sense of what reality is and be more connected to what our future actually holds, not what we want it to hold. And the best part of this whole thing is that if you had trouble with this ideology, this projection into the future, or the depraise, or like the analyzation and evaluation of the past, that's all perfectly okay. It's all perfectly fine, and it's completely excusable because the present keeps showing up for another chance, another opportunity for you to do this, for you to be present, be available, be open minded to what is happening in the now, to what you have in your plate. And do not carry the weight of the world upon you. It does no one any good, and you find yourself in a worse state than you were before. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Rebooking to Mastery. And if you'd like to follow me on all platforms, I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Rebooking to Mastery. And if you like this podcast, feel free to drop me a follow and write any comments below for me to improve the way I present this material. Thank you so much for listening, and see you guys next time.